I need somebody to sing. Need some music. Hmm. Anybody play piano? Well, unmute you.
Can anybody sing?
Anybody sing?
That was coming next.
Anybody dance?
Well, yeah, we don't mind old country music. Knock yourself out.
All right.
Should have Valentine's Day every month.
Y'all know Leanne Rhymes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll sing you some Leanne Rhymes.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Knock yourself out, babe.
All right.
It's not. Hold on.
Oh, so lonesome for you.
I love
Why
that song.
can't you be blue
There
over
we go.
me? Blue.
Was that?
Oh, so lonesome for you. Tears fill my eyes till I can't see. 3 o'clock in the morning, here am I, sitting here so lonely, so lonesome I could cry. Blue, oh, so lonesome for you. Why can't you be blue over me? All right, y'all next.
That was great.
We can't top that.
Man, that was great. Okay, does anybody have a joke?
I used to own a karaoke business.
All righty.
That was too fun.
Okay.
A little silence isn't a bad thing.
Oh, come on, Kathy, you're next.
Oh God. I guarantee you everybody will leave.
I think this is very fun.
Everybody will turn their audio off if I sing.
Everybody would leave if I sang.
Well, we got a problem here. Hmm. Oh,
You
stop.
ready to get going?
Huh?
Are we ready to get going?
No. Not yet. Still checking people in.
Oh, okay.
If they put their last name in,
Oh,
So she
Allie
can
can,
take it back.
Allie can play piano?
There you go.
Can you do that?
From now on, check-in is going to be a check-in / talent show.
That's right. To get in, you got to do something. Like
Yeah.
America's Got Talent.
Price of admission, baby.
That's a great idea.
I know, I like it.
I know.
I can barely hear her though.
We need some leprechauns.
Not really.
You could just do some sit-down comedy.
We might need some green beer.
Hey, nice.
That's what I'm saying. I can barely hear her, but she sounds good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You ready, Leslie? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Hi.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the main meeting. Sorry about the little slideshow.
All right, I gotta get a little updated with the PowerPoint presentation.
There's a lot of background noise. Okay, so welcome. We have a great meeting for you tonight, all about 401ks. Of course, a few announcements first. We have a lot of new programs that we have rolled out this year. You've been hearing us talk about this for a while with our structure change and all the new and wonderful things that we've able to do. We've talked about it, and they're finally happening. So our whole goal with our restructuring was to really build a stronger TRIA community. We had a few problems where we would have experienced older members leaving, and part of the goal was to find ways to connect more experienced investors with new investors and to build programs that would make that happen. And that's what we're doing. We are, everything is just geared to make the TRIA community stronger. So a couple of the new programs are PREP, Practical Real Estate Projects. That has two forms, virtual and in-person. Our PREP virtual is once a month. In fact, it happens to be tomorrow. And that is where we take a topic and break it down for you step by step. We do it with you, the basic ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And Leslie will tell you about what's going on tomorrow in a minute. Then part 2 of PREP is PREP in person. As of right now, we have 2 PREP in-person iterations, but the possibilities are endless. We can have as many as we want eventually. As a starting point, we have PREP wholesale. That class is full. There's 20 people in it. And we've had 2 class meetings so far, and the class will actually be buying a property and wholesaling it. The other prep in person is going to be prep rehab. We had one of those last year, which was a resounding, wonderful success. And that'll be starting up again in a couple months. We have an interest list if you are interested in that. Get on the list and we'll let you know some more things we have going on to enhance the social media. We have 2 Rehab Tuesday. That is on Tuesdays, obviously, only on social media. It's on Facebook now and soon to be rolled out on Instagram and Twitter. You can search hashtag 2 Rehab Tuesday. You can follow 2 very different rehabs. One basic paint it, carpet it, fix it, flip it, and one complete gut. Really, really complicated rehab. We have a new mentorship program. There is a fee for that. Lionel Finley is in charge of it. Hit Lionel up if you need a mentor. One thing that we're really trying to do to build relations is we have the Tria Brain Trust. Some people were invited to join this. Others have filled out applications. If you are an experienced investor and are interested, please reach out. You don't have to be a longtime member. It's for experienced investors. The Tria Brain Trust is a group that will take leadership positions in Tria, will help develop new programs. If you are part of the Brain Trust, we are looking to you for ideas. You can actually, if you choose, develop a class to teach. For example, you can come up with a prep topic. You can submit it to the board for approval. And if you're approved, you can teach that class. And there is, we don't ask you to do it for free. There's income related to that. And our vendor program, another component of building up our community is building up our vendor program, which has been sort of weak and ignored in the last couple of years. But Karen Lewis, our board member, is taking that over, along with April, our wonderful serenader from earlier there, and James Clark. And they are really, really on it as far as building up that vendor program. And you, if you know of anyone, we're asking you to please recommend them as a vendor. Not only can you get paid if you refer someone, we'll pay you a 10% referral fee, but you should also care because the vendor program is a really important part of just what we've been talking about, strengthening our community. You know, in times when we need live, your dues, we try to keep the dues very low, and they do not cover our meeting costs with the food and the rooms. So a way we make up for that is through our vendor program and sometimes a selling speaker. So if you help bring in vendors, you're helping with that. And then once we have vendors, we recommend them to the members, and the members will patronize the vendors, which in turn will have the vendors become more involved, and they'll sponsor different things, and just sort of a snowball effect where everyone, again, is just building this closer community. It's all about what our change was about, is building a stronger Tria community so that we can provide more and better programming for you guys. We've been talking about it for a long time. Now you're seeing the effects. We are super excited about it. Before I turn it over to Leslie to tell you what we have coming up, I will introduce the board members that we have on the call. We have Chuck Jurgens, who is our president emeritus. We have Leslie Ortiz, who is our vice president. We have Karen Lewis, who you just heard me talk about, is heading up our member program. We have Jackie Richards, who does all of our PR and getting the newsletters and announcements out to you guys. We have Lionel Finley, who is heading up the mentorship program. And I am the 2021 president. Did I miss anyone? Got everyone? We also have other board members who are not on the call tonight. We have Sandy Spire. We have Crystal Slater, who put on our Unbus tour recently, which was a phenomenal success. And I think with that, we will turn it over to Leslie. She will tell you what we have upcoming. And then we have Chuck, who's going to introduce your speaker for tonight.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's been one of those days. Just to let you know, Thursday, of course, we've got a fabulous speaker for you tonight. You are going to be blown away by, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose. with Mr. Kelly here because he is one of the foremost experts. Knows a lot of stuff, this guy. So pay close attention, take a lot of notes. And Thursday, it's going to be, of course, our usual prep virtual where we're walking you through how to do stuff, basic stuff that you should know. But hey, there's stuff that a lot of people don't know. And so we're trying to figure that one out. If you've got a subject that you want us to speak more about, just shoot us an email, triaprojects@gmail.com, so that we can get some more informational sessions going. But this Thursday is going to be on about how to use tax delinquent properties as a lead source. And that's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel kind of thing. But Kathy's going to talk about that, and going to be really, really good for you to know that. And it's free. So that's even better. You don't got to pay for postcards or anything like that. And then, of course, next week we have Monday, Tria West with Roxana again. She's going to have her speaker's going to be talking about accessory dwelling units, ADUs. And so you need to tune in and find out what that is. And then for Wire next week, of course, with Audria is going to be our own Cheryl Gleason. And you know how informed she is on a lot of different topics, but she's going to be talking about, and of course, Wire being women in real estate in anticipation of us getting back to in person, which we're hoping to do in the next couple months. She is going to be talking about how the female investor can run a rehab on her own, and dealing with subcontractors and developing a scope of work and all sorts of different things, but doing that as a female. And it's going to be specifically geared to that. So ladies, sign up next Thursday at lunchtime, 12:30. And as far as April, we are not our April, but as far as the month of April, hi April. I really liked your singing too. As far as the month of April, we are going to confirm 2 in-person meetings. One will be experienced investors, and that'll be on Friday, April 16th at Prestonwood. And our second meeting in person is going to be Tria West on Monday, the 20-something. And that's going to be with Roxana and at Mez. At the Mez restaurant on Page Road in Durham. So keep your eye on the calendar for me to get those on there and get signed up, because we're going to be limited in our capacity, of course, with the COVID stuff still going on. So we're going to be limited as to how many people we can have attend these first meetings. So just keep your eye on the calendar and get signed up as soon as you can. That's it for me, Mr. Chuck.
Hey, Leslie, can you mention the meeting in Wilmington?
Oh, I'm sorry, honey. There you go. And I knew. I knew it. We are expanding our horizons. And of course, the beach being everybody's favorite place, including mine. We are going to be, Miss Karen is going to be firing up a new subgroup located in Wilmington. Tria Wilmington, and her first meeting is going to be in person on Wednesday, April the 14th. Yep. So if anybody wants to do a road trip to Wilmington, hey, I'm game. We can go down there and join in and join Karen in welcoming a bunch of investors from Wilmington, and let's see if we can't show them what a great community Tria is. So that's going to be Wednesday, April 14th. It's on the calendar. So if you feel like making a road trip, sign up.
Thank you.
All right, Chuck, you can take it now.
Yeah, well, everybody, tonight, this is going to be really, really exciting for those of you that don't know very much about self-directed IRAs. You know, when we start talking about tax stuff and CPAs and insurance and all of those things, everybody goes ho hum, I really want to talk about rehabbing a house and things, but investing is a business, and you really need to understand taxes for one thing. So I met Edwin, I heard Edwin about 10 years ago in a meeting, and he just blew me away. I had a self-directed IRA. I didn't know what I had. I didn't know the power of it. I didn't know what I could do with it. And Edwin had a presentation, and I was just absolutely blown away about the things you can do with a self-directed IRA. And so he came about a year ago and spoke to us when we were over there at that little convention hall, and just questions and questions and questions about self-directed IRAs. So I believe that the IRA is probably the best tool to create wealth in America today. Edwin, you might comment on that, but I really believe that you can do things with your IRA that will really make you some money, especially when you get north of 60 and you're going to be needing, an IRA. So Edwin is the CEO of Specialized Trust Company. And he's just a font of knowledge, and he can tell you how to make your self-directed IRA sit up and whistle Dixie. So Edwin, take it away and just amaze everybody.
Cool. Thank you so much, Chuck. That's quite the thing to live up to. And who am I to disagree with you, Chuck? If you say this is one of the best ways to create wealth, well, I'm going to go with what Chuck says. All right. If Chuck said it, it's got to be true. So first of all, I want to say we have a lot of clients in this group. I love getting together with you guys last year. In fact, we were just commenting. I was talking to Leslie and Chuck and Karen and the crew before we jumped on here tonight. And I was apparently the last live speaker last year before this whole quarantine craziness hit us all. And we were working really hard to make me the very first live speaker back this month. It just didn't quite happen. So here we are virtually. So but I definitely have to make it to North Carolina. I'm looking forward to that as soon as we can make that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and share this screen, and we will go ahead and jump into it. So let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right, you guys can see that. Okay, just give me like a thumbs up if you can see the presentation. You guys got it? Perfect, thank you. Thank you, Jackie, appreciate that. I like feedback. That way I know I'm not talking to myself. All right, so I decided to title this presentation The Self-Directed IRA Solution. Now, it's always interesting picking a title because there's so many different angles and directions we can go with this. You can see here, basically what kind of solution does it create? Well, this will allow you to rescue your retirement, build a real estate empire, rewrite your family legacy. And the question is, is it a real solution? Does this really work? And so let me just tell you about somebody who began this journey, a few years ago. His name's Gary. And Gary began his journey back in 2004. At the time, he was a 53-year-old attorney, married with a wife, a couple of kids. They were teenagers at the time. And, mortgage, car payments, right? Every day, right? Making between 100 and 200K a year. At age 53, Gary woke up, and it's interesting how this happens because people, particularly when we're building businesses or if we've got W-2 jobs that are our careers, right? We're so focused on that. It's interesting when you bring up this conversation about retirement accounts, or you mentioned the word retirement or retirement account, people usually have one of two reactions. They either check out because they say, well, you know what? I've got all the time in the world, right? It's like, I have all the time in the world. And then one day they wake up and they say, oh my gosh, I waited too long, it's too late. I've never found an ideal time to have this conversation with you, okay? It's either too early or it's too late. I just haven't figured out what the right day is. So that's exactly what happened with Gary, right? Wakes up one day at 53 years old, realizes he has no retirement accounts, no money in a retirement account. And he made the decision, he says, you know what? I don't want to work the rest of my life. I have to figure something out. and he began looking for a solution. So we'll talk a little bit about Gary a little later on. We'll come back to him in a minute. So with that as a thought, right, it's a common question that comes up. Like, what are the solutions? If I want to build long-term wealth, if I want to build wealth today and keep it, for the rest of my life, what are the options? How do I do that? What's the best way to go about that? So we're going to address some of that. So one of the things I like to start off with are expectations. And one of the reasons why I like to start off with that is because my attorneys tell me I have to. So every time I open my mouth, my attorneys want me to put this up in front of you. And I paid them a fair amount of money for this. So I'd like to leave this up here for at least 20 seconds because that way I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Anyway, I think it is also fair to absolutely set expectations. And so here's what I'm going to share with you. Okay, I'm not going to give you any tax advice, legal advice, or investment advice tonight. That's basically what this says. What I am going to do is give you some great information and education that when you implement it and when you apply it can absolutely empower you to take control and completely rewrite your financial legacy. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And so let's just go ahead and hop into it. What we're going to do, I'm going to answer, I decided to tackle this because, like I said, we've got some clients in here. We've got some people who are not clients. So this is some brand new stuff, the way I've put this together, presenting it to you right here for the first time tonight. And I'm going to answer some of the most common questions that have been coming up lately. Okay, so one of the first questions that comes up is, what is a self-directed IRA? Like, what is that? Why self-direct your IRA? So this is actually probably the most important question. Why do this? Because you guys are in this real estate investment group. You can go out and invest in real estate. You don't need a self-directed IRA, right? In fact, many of you are investing in real estate and you're not using a retirement account. So obviously you don't have to have one. So why might you want to use one? So we'll talk about that. What makes a self-directed IRA a self-directed IRA? This has been creating some confusion out there lately. And there's another question that actually is kind of like the same answer, but so I kind of lump these two things together because this has come up as well. Is this really legal? In other words, can I really buy real estate and stuff in an IRA? Like I've been told that's complicated. It's illegal. Like you can't do that. So I'm going to answer that question as well. And then, how do you do this, right? So if you decide, hey, I know what it is. I know I'd want to do it. Yes, I get that it's legal and I get the benefits. So I want to go down this path. How do I do that, right? So I'll walk you through that as well. And then at the end, I will be happy to answer your questions and show you how to get questions answered. So let's start with the first question. What is a self-directed IRA? Now, that, my friends, is a Ferrari. You probably knew that by looking at the picture. And the reason why I have a Ferrari up there is because for me, I like to do things with a little style and panache, right? So I like the idea of a Ferrari. I know there's a lot of pickup trucks owners in this room, right, who have signs much like that on the side of their truck. So I want to give you a contrast. I'm going to kind of explain how I want you to think about this because this is going to be super simple when you get it. Self-directing is very simple when you have the correct framework in your mind, all right? So here's how I want you to think about it. The self-directed IRA is a vehicle. That's what you see right there. It's not any ordinary vehicle. It's a very special vehicle. But that vehicle, right, that Ferrari will not move. It will not get off the line unless you put one thing in it. And what's that? It's fuel. You've got to put fuel in the Ferrari to make it go. Now, will any kind of fuel do? Absolutely not. You need high octane gasoline, right? You need to have a specific kind of fuel to put in that car to make that Ferrari go. All right, so here's the analogy or the metaphor that I want to use, and I want you to remember this. If you remember this, you're going to get it all. The Ferrari is the vehicle. The vehicle is the self-directed IRA. The fuel that makes the Ferrari go are the investments that go inside the vehicle. It's the real estate, the notes, the cryptocurrency, whatever, right, tax lien certificates. It's what you put in there. It's the investments that make that thing really run. So that's how I want you to think about that. Anytime I say self-directed IRA or self-directed account, I want you to think of the Ferrari. When we talk about the investments, that's the fuel that's going to make it go. Okay, so that's how I want you to remember that. Super simple, straightforward. So now let me give you my definition of what a self-directed IRA is. A self-directed IRA is an IRS-approved vehicle that allows you and I to get complete control over the money in our retirement account to invest in anything that the government allows. Things like buy and hold real estate, buy, fix, and sell real estate, subject tos, notes, mortgages, deeds of trust, tax liens, cryptocurrency, physical precious value. I mean, the list is virtually endless, right? You can virtually do anything you can imagine, right? So it's an IRS-approved vehicle that allows you and I to get complete control over our money, invest in anything allowed by the government, earn money 100% tax protected, and in some cases, spend every single dollar we ever make in that account 100% tax-free. Okay, so that's my definition of a self-directed IRA. It's an IRS-approved vehicle that allows you and I to get complete control over the money, invest in anything allowed by the government, things like real estate, make money tax protected so our money will grow exponentially larger and faster, and in many cases, spend all the money we make 100% tax-free. That's what a self-directed IRA is. So the question is, why would you want to self-direct your retirement account? Why would you want to take control of this thing? Okay, so I'm going to give you a few reasons. The first reason that most people think about are taxes, and that's obviously a big reason. So we're gonna talk about how this account is going to protect your wealth today and tomorrow. So the first thing that comes to mind are taxes. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that in a second. So we kind of all have that in mind. But here's another protection that these accounts afford you. It affords, and I'm going to make a general statement here. Okay, I'm going to make a general statement. Your retirement accounts are judgment proof in all 50 states. Now, it does depend to some degree on what type of an account you have, but generally speaking, what I can say is your retirement accounts are judgment proof in all 50 states. So what does that mean? If you personally filed bankruptcy, the court cannot attach a judgment to any asset held inside your retirement account. If you had a business that you had to file bankruptcy on, the court cannot attach judgment to any asset that's held inside that retirement account. If you are tried and convicted of a criminal offense, the court can take your life, but they can't take your retirement account. Now, that doesn't seem right, but that's the way it works, okay? So again, we want to protect our money from anybody who might come after it, right? The government, creditors, attorneys, that type of thing. Okay. Third consideration here, as it pertains to some sort of tax implication, is probate. So if you don't have an estate plan, and estate plans can be pretty expensive, along with this asset protection plans to get set up, and they can be fairly complex, then you could have an estate problem or a probate problem in the future. Now, most people think, well, I know what the federal guidelines are, and my estate's not worth that. If you're self-directing, eventually it probably will be. But take that aside for a second. What most people don't realize is that there can be probate limits at the state level, and those limits can be as low as $50,000. So all of a sudden, your assets can be tied up in probate court. Not good. Here's the interesting thing about the retirement account, though. When you correctly set up your beneficiaries, which we help people do every day, when you correctly set up those beneficiaries, upon the point of death, that retirement account bypasses probate and goes immediately to your beneficiary. So as an example, let's say you have two spouses, one and you're getting $10,000 a month from that in income from that retirement account. One spouse passes away, they send in a death certificate, account gets retitled to the other spouse. Next month, 10,000 check still goes out. Zero interruption in income, right? 100% security for the people that mean the most to you. So you can bypass probate. So those are some reasons why you want to think about self-directing this account. Okay, let's talk about taxes. When you earn income, okay, you trigger taxes on that earned income. Federal, state, local, right? You see it right here. So there, you see some ranges. So let's put this in dollars and cents for you. If you were to make or earn $100,000 this year, or for every $100,000 you earn, you could be paying up to $42,200 in taxes to these various taxing agencies. Now, does that upset anybody? Does that upset you? Because I can tell you it upsets me, particularly when you're paying multiples of that number, because whose money is that, right? That's your money, right? That's my money. We're the ones out working for it. We're taking risks to make it. And the taxes are just punitive. But now I want you to picture this for a second. Picture this. What if I could give you a way that you could stop paying that $42,000 in taxes and put it right back in your pocket? Think about, I mean, just imagine that for a second. I don't even need to get into any kind of illustrations or you know, equations, nothing. If you just think about putting $42,000 back in your pocket for every $100,000 you make, how much more money, how fast can you compound and grow your wealth, right? It becomes astronomical. It's exponential. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so why self-directed your IRA? Taxes, right? A big one. Here's a second reason. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so I'm going to make you an offer, and we'll call this hypothetical for now, but I'm going to make you an offer, okay? There's an investment that you can make, okay? It's $100,000 to make this investment. So it's $100,000, right? That's your buy-in, $100,000, and you will make $100 this year. You'll make $100 on your $100,000 investment. Does anybody want to make that investment? Okay. The answer is typically, oh, heck no, right? Well, if you're not self-directing, you might be doing that very thing right now. How do I come up with that? Well, when I lived in the Wall Street world, which is where I started out my career many, many years ago, we use something called, we use different types of formulas, right, to evaluate or value the value of an investment, right, to come up with a valuation. And one of those is something called a PE ratio, or a price earnings ratio. In other words, what price are you or an investor willing to pay for every dollar in earnings? In December, Tesla hit a PE ratio of 1,000. What that means is that for every $100,000 that you pay for Tesla stock, you're expecting to earn $100 back in return. So think about, and you say, well, I didn't buy Tesla stock. Well, do you own a large cap mutual fund? Do you own an S&P 500 mutual fund? Do you even know what your 401k might own, right? Because if you own any of those things, guess what? You own Tesla or companies like it. So think about the bet that we're making, or that people are making, if they own something like that. You're betting that what? Somebody's going to be willing to pay $200,000 for $100 in earnings? Because how else is the price going to move up? How else are you going to make any money, right? And so this is a problem that I call uncertainty. I mean, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, says the stock is overpriced. People don't listen to him. So this is the challenge. You can see here on the right-hand side, the USA Today, that's Alan on our team, and he's reading it. And basically the title of that article says, what goes up must come down, how to protect yourself for when, not if, the stock market takes another major correction, right? So that's the problem of uncertainty. So when we see clients self-direct, they're investing in things like notes, mortgages, real estate, right? Things that are more certain, secure, and predictable in many cases, things that they know more about. Okay, third reason why you might want to self-direct your retirement account is to protect yourself from high hidden fees. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. When clients, when I talk about fees on self-directed accounts, I get one of two reactions. The first reaction I get is, wow, that's cheap. How do you make any money? The second reaction I get is, that's expensive. How is it I can have the same conversation and get two totally opposite answers to the same topic? Well, here's the answer. It's all a matter of perspective. The person who says it's cheap knows what they're paying now at the bank or the brokerage, all right? The person who says it's expensive has no idea what they're paying. And the reason why most people have no idea what they're actually paying for their investments or their retirement accounts is because when you get your quarterly or annual statement, there's no line item on that statement that says, here's what you paid in fees, okay? That's why they're called hidden fees. And when I was in the Wall Street world, people were experts at hiding fees. And the reason why is because they're pretty expensive. So that's one reason why there's an organization out there called the ICI, or the Investment Company Institute. This is their investment company fact book. They produce it every year, publish it every single year. They do an update. This is the most current version. Okay, came out in 2020 for the year ending 2019. So they haven't published the one yet for 2021. And what they do is they're a nonprofit research organization. They publish all kinds of really cool research on the financial services industry and the investment world. Okay, and so what I did was I just went to the investment company fact book, and one of the things they do is that they talk about the fees that people pay on average, right? So this is coming straight from the ICI. This isn't me. And so what do people pay currently for their retirement accounts and investments? Well, there could be a few fees. There could be more, but I just put 3 in here to give you a perspective. So the first fee is an average fee that's just built into the investments. And you can see here that they're calling the simple average 1.25%. But there's a new trend, which is, right, we're going to balance everything for you, rebalance, so that everything stays in line, particularly given your age. That's another fee, right, that they add on to that. And then you always have a financial advisor or a broker attached to it. And so they have to charge their fee too, right? And that's what you see right there. Okay, so you can add those up and you get a feel for it. Now, by contrast, what does a self-directed retirement account cost? Well, there could be a few fees involved, but the main fee, the bulk of what people pay, is the annual fee. And that's one reason when I built the fee schedule, I put it in the same language that the larger financial world puts it in, right? Basis points or a multiplier. Because I like to illustrate, and this is another benefit of self-directing. When you self-direct your retirement account, what ends up happening is you instantly save money in fees the moment you transfer money into that account, right? So you can see right there, that's the multiplier. You multiply it by your balance, and that's how you calculate the fee for the most part. Now, let me go back here and show you by contrast. So it's those 3 numbers potentially added together, or that, right? So fees, when you self-direct, can be a half or a third of what you might be paying at a bank or a brokerage. So that's another reason. All of those things lead us to this final point on why to self-direct your IRA. Okay, a few things. First of all, number one that all this adds up to is that you need to preserve your nest egg. You need to preserve it from taxes. You need to preserve it from uncertainty and fluctuations in the stock market. You need to preserve it from greedy attorneys who are trying to take your assets at some point in the future. Okay, the reason why you need to preserve it is because most people I work with aren't at a point that their nest egg is large enough to sustain them going forward yet. So we need to grow your nest egg. Well, it's really hard to grow it if we can't keep what we've already got, right? So those two things kind of go hand in hand. Ultimately, those two things lead to the third thing that is the ultimate part of the solution, which is we need to create additional income. When we acquire assets that produce an additional income, and that income meets or exceeds our expenses, we now control our life. We control our time and our money, right? To do that, you got to get control over your money and your life, right? You've got to get control over your money. That's what a self-directed retirement account does for you ultimately. The interesting thing is that when people start self-directing with us, and I see this all the time, people talk about, well, hey, I started with my retirement account, and when I learned how to get control and work through a process and create a framework and create wealth for myself, those principles that I'm now practicing and living out every day spill into other parts of my life, that they impact my relationships with my kids, with my spouse, right? My business. I mean, so it all of a sudden, like your whole world begins to expand. And to me, that's why I get so excited about this, because this makes a real impact on people. Like it's completely changed my life. And so that's why we want to self-direct. That's why I call it the self-directed solution, because that's exactly what this is. Now, here's the interesting thing. Self-directing is new to a lot of people, but it's not new at all. All right, let me just give you one quick example. Everybody's heard of Warren Buffett. That's why I like to use this as an example, right? I could give you other names that you'd know, but I'm just going to give you one tonight, and that's Warren Buffett. You can see the title of the article, Warren Buffett's Snowball Retirement Advice. Look, he's talking about retirement accounts, right? IRAs and Roth IRAs. We're going to talk about both those in a second. If you look at the bottom article in the International Business Times, he talks about single family homes, right? i.e. real estate being a great investment along with other things. You bring these two things together like he does, and you have a recipe for massive wealth creation. Okay, so although self-directing might be new to you, it's not new at all. It's been around for a long, long time. So let me give you a perspective and show you a little bit about what's possible, right? I want to move our minds in the right direction here. And so this is a question, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of people say, well, I don't really care about a retirement account. You know what? Truthfully, I don't really either. You know what I do care about? I care about the result. That's what I care about. So as an example, let me just ask a question. Would you be cool with this result? Okay, so here's a question. What does it take to make $100,000 a year for the rest of your life? Free and clear, by the way. What does it take? Does that sound challenging? Does that sound hard or difficult? Like, what do you think? Well, here's what I want to illustrate here. Creating wealth is simple. I can't say it's always easy, but I can tell you it's simple. And so let me show you this illustration just to illustrate the concept. If you contribute $5,000 a year, so $5,000 a year is basically $483 a month. Can you come up with $483 a month? And you do that for 30 years. Now, if you look at me, you're going to know, hey, Edwin, you don't have 30 years. And by the way, I don't want to wait 30 years either. So again, I'm just going to show you a principle. I'm actually going to show you how to take this down to 7 to 10 years. But again, just follow me here for a second. So we contribute $5,000 for 30 years, and we make 10% consistently on the money. What will your $5,000 a year, your $483 a month, be worth? Well, here it is, $991,964. Interestingly enough, that nest egg doesn't necessarily do a lot for you yet, because, and this is the challenge with the bigger world with mutual funds. What do people do when they stop earning the income that they had when they step out of that job or they get out of the business? They start pulling money, right, out of those investments inside their retirement account. Well, what happens when you do that? That number starts to go down. So that number is not an answer, right? We can't do that. You ultimately run out of money. So we can't spend that, but what can we spend? What we can spend is what we earn on that. So if we're making 10% on our money that year, that's $99,000 in income. And if you use the vehicles that I'm going to show you, how much income tax will you pay when you spend your $99,000? Zero. How much capital gains tax will you pay when you spend the $99,000? Zero. You're going to pay no taxes. So let's talk about how that all happens. So Specialized Trust Company is a self-directed IRA custodian. So this is one of the first pieces to making it happen, okay? What makes a self-directed IRA truly self-directed? That's the first thing you need to know. So because most people have a retirement account, probably most people right now right here has a retirement account of some kind. There's two types of retirement accounts, plain vanilla and truly self-directed. A plain vanilla retirement account is one that most people have. It's the kind you get at the bank or the brokerage, and they limit you or restrict you to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, basically, okay? So the question is, what makes a self-directed IRA truly self-directed? The answer is we do. The financial institution that holds it. The reason why I say I'm combining these two questions together, is it legal to invest in real estate? Is because the answer comes from the same place. Actually, it comes from the very same context. And so I want to answer both of those questions because these are two things that come up. So what you see here is the IRS website, right? And so this particular page on their website talks about IRA FAQs regarding investments. And you can see there's different questions on this page. One of them is, are there any restrictions on the things that I can invest my retirement account in? And it says yes. And it goes on to say some things that you can't do. But now look at this. The IRS was kind enough, right, to give us an example here. So I circled this so you can see this. It says, well, let me walk you through this. It says IRA trustees are permitted to impose additional restrictions on investments. Now, what does that mean? First thing it means is, well, first of all, who's an IRA trustee? An IRA trustee is the financial institution that holds your retirement account. okay? So the bank, the brokerage, specialized trust is an example, right? IRA trustees. That's who holding your account and the assets in it. Okay. The second part of that sentence, it says IRA trustees are permitted to impose additional restrictions on investments. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that just because the government when they created retirement accounts and they gave us the rule book on everything that we're allowed to do, what they're saying is, look, just because we, the government, allow you to do something, doesn't mean that a for-profit business offering these types of services or accounts has to allow you to do it. They're allowed to restrict investments. They can't go broader than what we created, but they can restrict them, right? They can make it really, really tight if they want. That's what the first sentence is saying. Okay, so let's move on. It says, for example, because of administrative burdens, I really think that's code for, hey, Wall Street firms don't know how to hide all those fees if you're actually involved in the process of investing your own account, right? But be that as it may, because of administrative burdens, many IRA trustees do not permit IRA owners to invest IRA funds in real estate. But look at the last sentence because I underlined it for you. IRA law does not prohibit investing in real estate, does not prohibit investing in real estate, but trustees are not required to offer real estate as an option. The IRS basically answers both questions at the same time. What makes a self-directed IRA a self-directed IRA? The financial institution, the IRA trustee that holds it. Secondly, can you invest in real estate and it's all legal? 100%. They just told us that. So if you want to self-direct your retirement account, you're going to need a self-directed custodian, right? And that's what Specialized Company is and does. So just so you know, if you've never heard of Specialized, I know we have a lot of clients here in the group, but if you've never heard of us, we are a highly regulated financial institution. We have a lot of experience, interestingly enough. I say that I have 23 plus years of experience, plus being the operative symbol there, because several years ago, I found myself surprisingly single. Now, my marketing people tell me that I need to update that number every year because apparently the longer you do something, the more credibility you have. However, since I found myself surprisingly single a few years ago, I realized every time I update that number, I just age myself. So it's 23 plus years, that number's never changing, okay? 10 years from now, when I'm hanging out with you guys in person, right, I'm gonna have 23 plus years experience. I'm never going beyond that. By the way, one other thing about the experience, we have one of the most experienced teams in the industry, which makes a lot of difference when you're actually making money and growing your account and building your wealth or funding your business. I was reminded actually by somebody I'm going to introduce you to here at the end, Danielle. So Danielle reminded me a couple weeks ago that I hired her back in 2007. Interestingly enough, if somebody's going to spend all those years with you, you must be doing something right, right? I mean, I haven't driven her crazy yet. So, so she's been actually with us since 2007. Third thing here, real people. So Danielle's a real person. The other cool thing is that it's real people located right here in the United States that when you call, answer your call and work with you. I put that in there because I cannot tell you how frustrating it is these days. I try to get questions answered or get something done with a business, and I don't even get a phone number. I have to go through a chat. And it's not even a person chatting with me. It's like a chat bot. All right. We do have chat. It is manned by a live person. We have a phone number. You can call anytime during business hours. Real people answer that phone. Okay. So that's important to you when you're self-directing. And then the last thing I'll say is our why. And this is why I established the company, because there's other custodians out there. There's other providers out there. But here's the thing, self-directing has enabled me to completely transform my life, financially, personally, professionally. I mean, it's done amazing, amazing things for me. I've met the best people. I live an amazing life. I love my life. I get to do all kinds of cool stuff now. And I want you to love your life as much as I love mine. I want you to be able to do all that cool stuff with all the people that mean the most to you too. And we've all heard the expression, money can't buy happiness. But here's the reality of it. If you're stressed about how to pay the bills now or in the future, If you don't have a plan, if you're uneasy about your financial situation, it's really hard to have any kind of joy in your life. I know, I mean, that's how I used to, I mean, I was there. And so self-directing is a way that regular, everyday people just like me, right, can completely transform their life, right? It allows us to rescue our retirement if we're not on track. We can rewrite our family legacy. And if you're an investor, it's one of the best ways by bringing other funding sources of private money in to fund your business and your operation, your investments. So, so that's our why, right? That's why I set up the company. That's why we do what we do. So what I'm going to break this down for you in two different ways. Now, when we talk about accounts, and the only thing, like I've given you some different reasons to think about why you want to self-direct your account, which account or which accounts are best for you to use. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, or two questions, and then I can tell you which accounts are the best ones for you to start off with. All right. So my first question is, would you rather pay less taxes right now than you did before? Okay, so if you say yes, I want to pay less taxes. Let me paint a picture. Imagine this for a second. I'm going to give you a way that you get to have a brand new conversation with the government. And here's what you get to say. This is what you're going to say to the government. You're going to say, look, you're going to want to tax me. I'm going to earn income this year, and you're going to want to tax me on every dollar I make. Here's the deal I'm going to make you. I'll let you tax me, but you only get to tax me on the money I earn and that I spend. If I don't spend it, you don't get to touch it. Anything I don't spend, I'm going to go invest. And when I invest it, it's going to generate earnings and profits and income. And as it's growing, you don't get to touch it then either. At some point in the future, I'm going to want to spend some of that money. And here's the deal I'm going to make you. My money is going to grow exponentially faster and larger because you're not taxing it anymore. So when I start to spend some of that money, I'll let you tax it, but only what I spend, right? If I don't spend it, you don't get to touch it. But by the way, you can't levy all these taxes on me that you do now. You've got to get rid of a few. Okay, so now would you rather have that conversation with the government this year? Because if the answer is yes, then what you want is a traditional IRA or a tax deferred account, as we call them, because that's exactly how it works. You take money, it's called a contribution, out of your checking account or your savings account, wherever you get it, and you deposit it into your retirement account, your IRA. You get to subtract the amount of your contribution from your taxable income. You just got a tax deduction. So let's just say on a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 contribution, you're probably saving anywhere from $1,500 to maybe $3,000, you know, something like that we can call it. Maybe not quite $3,000, but $1,500, call it $2,500 maybe in taxes. That's money that immediately goes right back in your pocket. You just got that money back. Now, as you're investing and growing it, right, it's tax protected. So your money grows faster and larger than you can imagine, right? Because I see this happen and play out all the time. Then when you take money out of that account in the future, it's called a distribution. Distributions are not earned income. So we don't pay Social Security tax. We don't pay Medicare tax on distributions. So we would save a lot. So our distributions are larger because we didn't pay taxes, so our money grew larger. And we don't pay all the taxes we pay now. That's a traditional or a tax deferred account. Now, I'm going to ask you a second question. Would you rather pay no taxes? Okay, so if you say, yeah, I like the idea, Edwin, of not paying any taxes, then let me show you how this one works. Now, we're going to change up the conversation with the government this year. Okay, so now picture this one. Okay, imagine this for a second. I'm going to give you a way that you're going to have a brand new conversation with the government this year, and here's what you're going to say. I'm going to earn income, and you're going to want to tax me on all of it. And I'm going to let you, but here's the agreement. Anything I don't spend, I'm going to set aside, save, and invest. That money is going to generate earnings, profits, and income. As it's doing that, you don't get to touch any of it. So my money is going to start to compound and grow, right, exponentially faster and larger. I'm really going to expand my wealth. Then at some point in the future, I'm going to want to spend some of that money. And guess what? If you taxed me way back then, you don't get to touch this money. If I take $10,000 out of that account and spend it, I get to spend all $10,000. You can't charge me capital gains tax. You can't charge me income tax. You can't charge me anything. Now, at some point, I'm going to pass away probably, right? Well, we know, right? We're all going to pass away at some point. So I'm going to pass away. And then what happens to that money? It's going to go to my spouse, assuming I have one. And guess what? You don't get to tax her either. She gets to spend that money every day, tax-free for the rest of her life. And what happens when she passes away? It's going to go to my kids. And guess what? You don't get to touch them either. They get to spend it 100% tax-free as well. So now let me ask you a question. Would you rather have that conversation with the government this year? Okay. If the answer is yes, then what you want is a Roth IRA, right? Or a Roth-based account, because that's exactly how it works. Basically, the agreement with the Roth is this. We agree to pay the taxes on all the money we earn this year, but the money we put into a Roth, we never, ever, ever pay taxes on again. Okay. The Roth is the only legal way I know how to go from forever taxed to never taxed. Forever taxed to never taxed is what a Roth account does for you and your family. Okay, this is transformative. This is absolutely life-changing. So here's the thing. There's different types of accounts that you can self-direct. Traditional and Roths, we just talked about those. But now there's other accounts that have those tax features built in, okay? So there's solo 401ks, there's other small business retirement plans. If you've got your own business, SEPs, Simples, there's health savings accounts, Coverdell education savings accounts, which are basically like Roth IRAs for education for the kids or grandkids, right? And so there's multiple accounts that have the tax deferred component or the tax-free component. So anytime you do anything in a Roth account, you get to spend the money on qualified distributions, right? 100% tax-free. Now, let me just stop there and mention something to you, because we're in the month of March right now. This is actually the best time to be having this conversation. And here's why. You have an option right now today that in 30 days will be gone. Okay, so you've got a 30-day window opportunity here. And here's what it is. If you want tax deductions and you want to lower your tax bill for last year, you can still do that if you haven't made contributions to a tax deferred account. So you can actually make contributions for last year up until April 15th. Okay, so if you're looking for tax deductions, we can show you how to do that for last year. Okay, the other thing is that, like I said, to take money out of a Roth tax-free, you actually have to meet two requirements. The first one is that you have to meet what they call a 5-year clock, right? The account has to be seasoned for 5 years. So here's the interesting thing. If you open up a Roth right now, if you don't have one, and you just make, say, a $500 contribution or a $1,000 contribution just to get some money in there, okay, we can say and earmark that contribution for last year, and the IRS is going to pretend like you opened that account and made that contribution January 1st of last year. So now you don't have a 5-year clock. You have like a 3-year and an 8-month clock or something like that, right? 9-month clock. So right now, but that is only up until you file your taxes or until April 15th. So you have a very limited window of time to do that. So if you're still looking for tax deductions for last year, you want to shave time off a Roth, you can do that right now. This is the best time to do it. So let me give you a quick case study, and then I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll be happy to take questions. And so let me ask you a question. What if you learned about this 10 years ago? How might your life look different today? So I shared with you a little bit about Gary at the very beginning, if you remember our friend Gary from Ohio. If you remember, I told you he was a 53-year-old attorney back in 2004. He had a wife, 2 kids, mortgage, and car payments, right? I mean, he's like everybody we know. Makes between $100,000 and $200,000 a year, right? He's an attorney. And the question is, at 53, how much did he have set aside in a retirement account? And the answer was nothing, right? And this is a real wake-up call for people. Now, if you go to, like he did, if you go to the local financial advisor down the street or your banker, what do you think they told them? It's too late. You waited too long. You can't save enough money. Why? Because first of all, they don't pay too much attention to the tax equation. They're focused on the investment part, and the investments that they offer, the mutual funds, yeah, they won't solve the problem. They just don't do it. It won't happen. Well, Gary didn't accept that answer, and that's why he started looking for an alternative. He started looking for a solution, and that's when he discovered self-directing at a conference, right, at a seminar, much like this, right, educational event. And so here's what happened, okay? In 2004, he discovered self-directing, and what he did was, the first thing he did was he set up a Roth, and I'm just going to give you this at a high level so you can just kind of see what's possible, all right? He set up a Roth, and he made a $4,000 contribution. Now, the reason why he made a $4,000 contribution was back then, that's all you could put in the account, okay? So he made a $4,000 contribution. The next thing we had to do, right, is he's got to create a plan. You got to have a plan. What am I doing this for, and where do I want to go with it, and what's my time frame? So we actually help clients, right, answer all those questions. But he says, well, okay, I need to replace my earned income, right? So if I could make $100,000 a year, by the way, if I do it in a Roth, like I don't even have to make $100,000 a year because I'm not paying taxes anymore. So I could actually make less than $100,000 and yet maintain my current lifestyle. So that takes a lot of the pressure off, right? So the idea was, well, I'll buy rental properties and I'll generate income and I'll never pay income tax again, and life's going to be grand, right? So rental properties was the gas, the high octane that he decided to put in that Ferrari that he just set up, right? Except there's one problem. What's the problem? How do you build a real estate portfolio with $4,000 in a Roth IRA, right? Seems darn near impossible. Like, what do you do? Well, so let me let you in on one of the 3 investment structures that we teach and train our clients on how to put together their plan and execute this. So believe it or not, right, and this is one of the best kept secrets about self-directing, is that the government says if you don't have enough cash in your retirement account to make an investment, or you just don't want to use your own cash, guess what? Your retirement account is allowed to borrow it. So just like you can buy real estate outside your retirement account, you can do the same thing inside your retirement account. Now, leverage, when wisely used, can be a great tool or a resource inside of a retirement account. And here's why. Gary's a perfect example. He decided, hey, look, I'd love to be able to step out of having to have a lot of pressure on me earning so much money in the next 10 years. Okay, so his time horizon, right, 10 years out. If he's not going to be taking any cash out of the account for 10 years, why tie up all the cash in one asset? Why not use it and leverage and build up more assets with the idea that you're going to have it all paid off in the 10 years when you need it? And so now your income is that much higher as a result, right? That's the concept here. So the question is, so a couple things that, well, I'll just tell you one thing for now. One thing you need to know, though, is that if you're going to borrow inside of a retirement account, you need to have what's called a non-recourse loan, Non-recourse loan basically says that in the event of default, the lender agrees to take back the property for full satisfaction of the debt. There's no additional recourse to the IRA or the IRA owner, okay? That's important because in Internal Revenue Code 4975, which is where we go to consult for the rules and regulations, the interesting thing about it is it doesn't say that you and I can't borrow money. What it says is we're not allowed to extend credit to our retirement account, and our retirement account is not allowed to extend credit, meaning no personal guarantees. Hence, non-recourse, we comply with the rule now, right? So as long as it's a non-recourse loan. Okay, so that was year number 1. So literally in the first year, account set up, cash in the account, plan created, executing the plan, all within the first 12 months. Okay, within the first couple of years, there was a change made. Switched over to a Roth solo 401k. Now, the government didn't introduce the Roth Solo K until 2006. That's why he started out with a Roth IRA in 2004. But once they introduced the Roth Solo K in 2006, contributions got frozen to the Roth IRA, started making them to the Roth Solo K. Now, there's a lot of reasons why a Roth Solo K can be way more advantageous to you over a Roth IRA. They're both great accounts, but if you qualify, the Solo K is in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, a superior choice. One of the reasons why is you see right here, it allows you to put more contribution dollars into it, right? So he was able to go beyond the $4,000 contribution to the Roth. So what happened next? Kept acquiring rental properties. The investment strategy, right? The gasoline, that high octane fuel he's using didn't change, sticking with the same formula, same fuel. How? Again, he was borrowing the money, right? And again, there's a whole, I teach courses on how to do this stuff, but you can see here basically how he did it. UDFI, UBIT, you might have heard of that. I'm not going to get into all that tonight just for the sake of time. We teach that later on if this is something you're interested in doing and how to deal with that. But basically, long story short is it doesn't apply. We eliminated UDFI on these transactions, and there's a way to do that too. So now let's fast forward. How did self-directing work for Gary, right? So if you remember, he started in 2004. In 2015, January, he and I met. And we were reviewing what he did, and his monthly distribution that month was $7,000, 100% tax-free. No income tax, no capital gains tax, no tax at all. $7,000. But wait, there's more, because every month the property pays off. So you remember what I said? Why tie up all your cash in one deal if you could build your asset base, right? Build your nest egg to generate more future income when you actually need it. So by this stage of the game, right? So what is that? Like 10 years later, 10 to 11 years later, by this stage of the game, every month, because you acquired enough properties, a property is paying off every month, which basically means every month Gary gets a raise, right? That's pretty cool. So now fast forward 2018, when that portfolio is pretty much paid off inside of his Roth, his monthly distribution is over $20,000 a month, 100% tax-free, no income tax, no capital gains tax, okay? Gary's lifestyle in retirement is better than when he was working. For most people, that's unheard of. But this is what's possible when you have the right vehicle with the right kind of fuel, right? When you bring these elements together, just like Warren Buffett pointed out to us, I mean, you can make some pretty amazing things happen. By the way, interesting thing about Gary doesn't care about presidential elections anymore. You know why? Because whatever they do with taxes, it ain't his problem. He's not paying taxes. If you're not using vehicles like this, it's your problem, but it's not his problem, right? It's not his family's problem. So that's basically how it works. And that's how it can work. So what's a good next step? If you're interested in learning more about self-directing and how to implement this, I'm going to give you two things right now. And the first one is the Field Guide to Financial Freedom. That's my latest book. I'm going to give you that along with a self-directed IRA strategy session. And that's a one-on-one session where you can ask all your questions, go over your situation, kind of go through all of that. Typically, we charge $297 for those consults and the book together for being members of TRIA, and to show my appreciation for the crew here at TRIA because they're so kind to let me come and share this with you because they know how valuable it is. And we've got lots of clients in the group already. It's 100% free for anybody who wants to take advantage of it. So here's how you do that. You see Danielle Gerbic. Like I said, we have real people at my company, and she's been with me since I hired her in 2007. So you've got her email address. You've got her direct line. All you need to do is shoot her an email or give her a call and say, hey, I heard Edwin and Tria. I'd like to set up a strategy session. I'd like you to send me a copy of his free book. and she'll get it out to you. So that's it. That's the offer. And like I said, right now is the absolute best time to do this, because for the next 30 days or so, right, you've got a window where we can help you get tax deductions for last year if you want them, and shave time off your Roth clock. So with that, I'm going to shut up now and see, are there questions, or are we going to take questions? I'll turn it back to Chuck and you guys.
We have a few. So the first one
Okay.
is from Charlene Vincent, and she's asking, are there limitations on how much you can earn to set up a Roth?
Great question. So I'm going to answer that. I'm going to give you two answers: yes and no. So here's how that works. Are there limits on making a contribution to a Roth IRA? Income
No,
limit?
the question
Yes.
is,
So,
are there limits on how much you can earn to set up a Roth?
right. So in other words, I assume that means earned income. In other words, if I make over a certain amount, can I still contribute, right?
Correct.
So the yes part is this. Yes, there are income limits that if you make over a certain amount, the IRS says you can't contribute directly to a Roth. Okay. That's not a problem though. So I'm over that income limit as an example. So what do I have to do? I make a contribution to a traditional where there's no income limit, and then I immediately have Specialized convert it to my Roth. That's 100% legal because there's no income limit on conversion. So that's one way to do it. Second way to do it is go back to the Roth 401k. There's no income limit on Roth 401k contributions. So that's another way to get in. And I could give you more ways, but you get the point. If you want in a Roth and you're over the income limit, call us. We can get you in a Roth. That's not a problem.
Okay, the next question is from Kiana. What about the UBTI on the debt finance portion?
Okay, so if Gary were sitting here with me today, and he's not, he travels a lot. Well, I don't know about right now with the COVID, actually. I owe him a phone call. I got to catch up. We got to get together. But if Gary were sitting here, Gary would say, forget about UBIT. Okay, forget about UBIT. Why does he say that? Because he's making $20,000 plus a month, 100% tax-free. And so what Gary says is, look, if you have to pay a few tax dollars to get to $20,000 income tax-free for myself, my wife, and my kids, who cares? Don't let the tail wag the dog. But this is why we also made the switch in 2006. If you borrow inside of an IRA, you do trigger UDFI. If we do that same transaction in a Roth solo 401k, UDFI does not apply to the transaction. So I can actually eliminate it with the account. That's one reason why we do the strategy sessions with you guys, because we want to know more than just what kind of an account do you have, right? There's a lot of variables that we put into, this is how I train my staff. There's a lot of variables because look, you're not going to make a bad choice with any account you use. You're going to make a very good choice, but I'm not worried about you making a good choice. I want you to make the ideal choice for yourself based on what you want as an outcome and what you're planning on doing to get there. We can help you dial that in and create a custom plan design for you, just like we did Gary. And so you can have that all spelled out. So if you're going to borrow inside the account, or you think you might borrow, that's definitely something you want to bring up in your strategy session.
Okay, Sandra is asking, what is the qualification to qualify for the solo IRA?
Solo 401k. Okay, so there's really two qualifications. So the first one is you have to have the intent to make money, meaning you have to be in business. Could you be a sole proprietor? You could. Most people don't want to set a 401k up as a sole proprietor because you got to have an EIN. So if you have any kind of legal entity, you have an EIN. Okay, so now that's the first qualification. The second qualification is it just you and a spouse employed by the business, or do you have non-family member employees? If you have employees, then you may not qualify for a solo K, because the solo K designed by the government, the way they wrote this thing up, it's designed for basically like a mom or a mom and a pop type of business, if you will. That's where that comes in. So having an entity set up and not having employees are basically the two qualifications. But anything more specific than that, we can talk to you about and help you navigate.
Okay. All right, Derek and Felicia ask, is this a correct assumption with the yearly contribution limits? If my account balance is too low to buy property, I can't put additional money in, but would have to use non-recourse loans. I'd need to initially fund the account with enough to buy properties since the yearly contribution is limited, and if I don't use a private lender.
There's a lot in that question. There's a lot there to unpack. So like I said, there's a few different investment structures that I teach, and I can't do it in this short of a window, but we do teach it to clients. And so if you want, by the way, one thing I didn't mention here, I'm going to be doing some additional training over the next couple of weeks. So if you reach out to Danielle, she could put you in that training. Again, it's free training. So you know, you're not going to pay anything for any of this stuff tonight. So it's all free, but when we have more time, I get into more of that kind of stuff. You have a lot there to unpack. What I'll say is there's always a path or a way to get to where you want to go. And so what I hear you doing is you're trying to think through multiple variables or steps all at once. The way you come up with the correct answer for you is we need to break those steps out, break all those things out, and take them one by one and put them back together. And that's how we map it actually out and actually help people execute. So there is an answer to that question. It's just I'd have to ask more and understand more to be able to answer it.
Okay, Panyan Amu is asking, I am a W-2 employee. My employer offers a 401k. Does that disqualify me to be able to have a solo 401k or a solo Roth 401k?
No, not necessarily. So we can actually coordinate plans. What you have to coordinate is the contribution. So if, let's say you have a W-2 job and you have an LLC set up because you do, say, real estate investing on the side. The LLC can sponsor a solo 401k and you can have the 401k at work. What you can't do is make a total contribution, right, up to the limit to this plan and also this plan. That's the part that needs coordinated. So let's just say your contribution limit this year was $50,000. If you put 10,000 in, and I'm oversimplifying this, by the way, if you put 10,000 in at the company, that would leave you 40,000 with your own plan. If you put 25,000 in the company, your max contribution would be 25,000 to your solo K plan, if that makes sense. That's how it gets coordinated. But you can have two separate plans. Now, sometimes people, particularly if they're starting out, they aren't funding it their own solo K with contributions. They're funding it with a transfer or a rollover from another IRA or a previous employer's plan, and that's how they're putting money in it, right? And so that's how they're starting out, and so that works, just fine.
Okay, Ingrid Ruiz asked, does specialized trust allow for LLC/checkbook control of the account?
Yes, we do.
Okay, the question that you just previously answered by Panyan Amu, they are saying, thank you. Very interesting because my financial planner told me I cannot do that and the IRS will penalize me.
No, they will if you make an excess contribution. That's probably what he means, or he may not fully understand it. Understand that when I was in the Wall Street world, just so you guys know, I worked for several very, very large international financial institutions. And I can tell you when I worked in that world, the way that those firms get compensated is on AUM, assets under management. We didn't give a hoot where those assets sat as long as we held them. So in other words, nobody was a real expert in retirement accounts or retirement plans or anything. Nobody understood the benefits. We just knew, hey, a lot of people have money in 401ks, and when they leave their job, we set up an IRA and move the money in it. Nobody cared about the IRA. Nobody really understood the IRA. So what we cared about was the money in the IRA because that's how we got compensated in that world, right? So it's not uncommon to talk to financial professionals who do not know the intricacies of these things. We specialize in this. So again, without being part of that conversation, giving the advisor the benefit of the doubt, he's correct if what he told you was you get penalized if you made an excess contribution, meaning you went beyond the contribution limits for a 401k and your income that you're reporting this year. That is a penalty. But there's no penalty to have more than one plan. those absolutely could be coordinated. In fact, I can tell you, we have multiple clients who do that very thing. In fact, I will tell you, I'll go one step further and I'll say, we have clients in TRIA who have very successful careers outside of their real estate investment business, great clients of mine, great people, you guys know them, have a 401k at work and have a solo 401k too. So 100% that works.
So let's say you own 3 businesses and each one is a separate LLC, and you set up a whatever turns out to be best, solo, whatever, for each company. Does that help you increase the limits? Like, is there a limit for each company, or is it for the individual?
No, good question. So that comes back to the aggregate limit. I'll use the IRA to simplify the concept, because this applies to all retirement, all accounts, all self-directed accounts, all retirement accounts. Okay. So an individual limit, and I'll use myself as an example. I'm not the best example, but I'll use myself as an example. Actually, I'm going to use Chuck as an example, because Chuck already talked a little bit about his little moving dilemma that he's having right now. So, okay, so Chuck, so there's Chuck, and Chuck is married, right? So it's him and his spouse. The contribution limit, because I think Chuck and I are about the same age, I might be a little older, right? I'll just say I'm 50 plus. But so my contribution limit to an IRA this year is $7,000, right? So that's what I can put in. Now, I told you there's 2 types of IRAs, traditional and Roth. So can I have only one or the other? No, I can have both. But the way that gets reconciled, so I don't create a penalty, is that I have a $7,000 IRA contribution limit. So if I put $3,000 in my Roth, I could put $4,000 in my traditional. If I put $7,000 in my Roth, I can put 0 in my traditional. That's what I mean by the aggregate limit. So the conflict is not in having multiple accounts. I can have 100 IRAs. But even if I have 100 IRAs, I'm still limited to a $7,000 contribution every year, right? With Chuck, and this is why I'm using Chuck as an example, Chuck has that $7,000 limit. His wife has the same $7,000 limit, right? Unless his wife's 22 years old, in which case it's $6,000. But barring that, right, it's $7,000. So now he can put $7,000 in, she can put $7,000 in. They can have, again, they can each have 10 accounts, but the most they can put in among all those IRAs is $7,000 total. So now let's apply that to your question specifically. You've got 3 businesses. Okay, you're still going to run it. You still have the same limit. You set up a company sponsored plan for one business, then that's going to be your aggregate limit. You're not going to be able to bypass that with a small business retirement plan. Now, let me go one step further and say, when we create custom plans for clients, and like I said, we have members in the group who we've done this with. So, you know, if you know who they are, you could ask them what it's like to go through this experience and to get this done, but we've done this. So I group accounts into 3 categories. Each person in your family can have, generally speaking, 1 account in each of those 3 categories. So here's a better way to approach the question. If you come to me and say, Edwin, I want to put $150,000 away in these accounts this year. I want to protect $150,000 this year. Okay, then let us go to work and help you map that out. Okay, that's a better way to approach the problem, because when you start asking about multiple accounts and multiple limits, what I'm hearing is, hey, look, I want to protect as much money as I can. Okay, tell me how much that is. Let me map it out for you. And yes, we will use multiple plans, but there's a way to coordinate them, and there's a way that works, and there's a way that doesn't work.
Okay, sorry, my son's getting ready to take off to Asheville. I was saying goodbye. Sandra T is asking, what about the company match to your 401k?
Well, so the company match, that's if you have a job at another company, right? And so you're getting that. So I'm not sure what the question is. Is the question, should I participate in my company plan? Is that the question? Or is it, how does matching work if it's my company and I do it? Like,
does your company match count towards your total contribution?
Yeah, so yes, good question. So when you make a contribution to a 401k plan, contributions come in 2 shapes and sizes. There's the employee contribution. So you are an employee of this other company. You are also an employee of your company. Then there's the employer contribution. The other company is the employer. Your company that you set up is also an employer. Both parties get to make contributions. So the employer match at the other company gets deducted from the employer match at your company, if that makes sense. You as an employee, if you're contributing to that plan, again, that coordinates with you as an employee contribution to the plan for your business too. So yes, we help you coordinate all of that.
Okay, Kiana asks, how many rentals can I have in a self-directed IRA before it's considered a business and I have to pay UBTI at the passive income rate?
Good question. I've never heard of any limit that's ever triggered UBIT on rental properties, ever.
All right, that's all the questions we have. Pretty good timing, y'all. You ended it right at 8. If anyone has anything last minute, stick it in there. Otherwise, Edwin, do you want to tell them how to get the things you're offering here?
Yeah, so if you guys can see that slide that's up in front of you, Danielle Gerbic is the key account representative that I have working with folks in your group. Her email is right there on the screen, dgerbic@irastc.com. Her direct phone number is 505-514-0584. You can reach out to her directly. Again, the website's right there too, specializedtrustcompany.com. But reach out to her directly and she will get you the book, set up the appointment for the free strategy session, which, like I said, you do want to get that done. If you want to get stuff set up for last year, which you can do still, you want to get that done sooner rather than later. And then, like I said, I'm going to be doing some additional trainings here for our clients over the next couple of weeks. So if you'd like to get in on that, she can register you for all of that as well. If something you want to go down this path, then learn more about it.
Thank you so much, Edwin. That was awesome. Really, wow, great information. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for
Thanks,
having me.
Edwin.
I can't wait to get down there with you guys personally next time.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, we tried.
we
Just not
tried.
people are ready, but you know, we understand and we're not trying to push anyone. So we get it.
We'll get you
Yeah,
here.
all in due time. All
You
in due
bet.
time.
All righty. Well,
Thanks again.
thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget, 2 live meetings next month. 2.